This is Black Myth Wukong, an action RPG with similarities to Sekiro or more recently Stellar Blade set in Chinese mythology. This game was fantastic. Tons of unique bosses and enemies, beautiful environments, precise and fluid gameplay. It was a fantastic game, but grinding for the platinum was not fun at all. There are 36 trophies and most of the trophies are what you'd expect. Defeat certain bosses, complete quests, craft armor and weapons, but some of them are completely RNG, like collecting seeds or getting certain armor pieces to drop from certain enemies. This was by far the worst thing to do for a platinum trophy. It's not like there's only 2 items, there are over 20 randomly dropped items required for trophies in this game, which is just not a fun time. So overall the platinum took 70 hours, 2 playthroughs is required for most of the trophies, there is no difficulty and there are a ton of missable trophies, so let's jump into it. So starting the game, we play as Sun Wukong, trying to gain freedom from these gods or something. I'm not too well informed or knowledgeable about Chinese mythology or Wukong, so forgive me if I misunderstand things. But basically here we get a tutorial and fight Erlong, which I think is how you pronounce it, who is Wukong's rival or something, I don't know, but we beat this guy and then we both fly away and Wukong's headband hurts him, I think, allowing Erlong to just straight up kill him. We then fast forward and this old monkey tells all the other monkeys about Wukong and that there is a destined monkey that will become the next Wukong, which is our character. And after that cutscene we get the trophy Home is Behind and begin chapter 1. So now we officially start the game and begin in the Blackwind Mountain, searching for one of Wukong's relics. And here we find all sorts of enemies, including these wolf ones. So while we're playing the game we want to make sure to discover every single enemy, which is going to be required for a trophy. But a short while after the start of this area, we discover our first rest point, which I'm sure you know what it is by now. Most games like this have one. We're greeted by this gross looking old dude who's going to guide us through this area. Shortly after that, we find a monkey who we're going to see multiple times throughout the game. He's essentially a guide to getting these Skanda items, which are needed for a trophy later, so we'll make sure to grab those in each chapter. So after that, we're going to discover our first boss. Second, if we count the tutorial boss. I won't be going over every boss in the game, there are 107, so it would add to this already long video, and I want to conceal most of them in case you do play the game yourself. I'll go over some of the more hidden bosses as well as some of the story bosses. As for this boss, pretty easy, and halfway through the old dude grants us our first spell, Immobilize, which stuns the enemy for a bit. After taking down this boss, we'll level up, granting us sparks, which allow us to unlock skills such as new moves and different stances. Unlocking our first skill gives us the trophy A Spark of Thought. A bit further, we'll discover our first meditation point, which gives a small snippet of the world you're in, and grants a spark and trophy once we find all of them, so we'll keep an eye out for those. A couple of dead wolves later, we make it to a walking toddler, and this thing was an absolute menace. Oh my. Okay, dude. No! God dang it! Oh my... Oh! Come on. Fuck that guy. Beating him will give us the first of many spirits, and spirits allow us to take form of the enemy and do various attacks or grant bonuses dependent on the spirit equipped. Moving along, we discover another boss, this wolf guy with a flamed up double-edged sword. We wreck him and pick up the ability to transform into him for a short duration, allowing us to do strong attacks and deal big damage. We keep moving through the chapter and fight yet another boss, and this one was actually one of the more memorable ones, just because of the way he looked. The giant white wolf looks freaking awesome, but unfortunately goes down pretty easily. After taking him out, we'll pick up a celestial pill, which increases either HP, mana, or stamina, and these are found throughout the game, and we're also going to keep a lookout for these for a trophy later. Sometime after that, we meet our first NPC, this horse dude, and we just gotta complete his quest for a trophy, which will come back to each chapter. And after meeting our horse friend, we'll find another NPC, and just like the horse guy, we need to complete his quest, which will also come back to each chapter. Eventually we'll pass through a couple bosses, a frog one, and some other poison dude. We'll take them out and eventually we'll reach another NPC which allows us to upgrade our gourd, which is our healing source, and here we'll include soaks to our gourd which will give us an effect when drinking from the gourd. For example, the first one allows us to have poison resistance for a bit. Equipping a soak gives us the trophy Brew of Bravery. After talking with that monkey, we'll have this water boss, which is the first boss to actually have 2 phases. First phase is actually really easy. The second phase he turns into like a snake and it's a bit more challenging, but he gets defeated and mentions these bells that are hidden around the area. So we gotta find those. There's only 3 and they aren't that hidden, but activating all of them will allow us to enter the secret area for this chapter. In here there really isn't much aside from a singular boss, and it's another stupid toddler. This one was a little less brutal, his damage is way weaker, and I was more skilled at this point in the game. So he goes down pretty quick and we pick up the trophy Temple of Taint, and the first of 4 vessels, Fireproof Mantle. The vessels do various things like increase focus or defense for a short duration, or do things like just attack the enemy. Now all that's left to do is take out the main boss of this area, the Black Wind King. This is his first phase and human form, so he goes down pretty easily here, and beating him gives us the spell Cloud Step, which allows us to dodge and turn invisible to unleash an unveiled attack. Right after beating him, we reach the summit of the mountain where we see the relic we're after and the Black Wind King in his true form, which is a giant bear. This time it was a lot harder to beat him, especially because his attacks do a lot of damage and are kind of hard to see because of the camera. But with the vessel we acquired in the secret area, the fight became much easier because it allowed us to counter some of his moves. After beating him, we'll pick up the trophy Blazing Black Wind and the relic we were after. This concludes chapter 1, and we get a little lore cutscene and painting. And now we can start chapter 2. So in chapter 2 we're in this desert area and cross paths with a headless dude. Then make our way to this wolf NPC who wants us to kill a frog. So we do after raging for 30 minutes. We return to him and he will continue his quest later in the chapter. We make our way into a village next to defeat a boss and catch up with our horse friend. Next we tackle another boss with this father rat and his son. For this boss we want to make sure to defeat the father first so that the son can go berserk, which will allow us to grab the spirit after we beat him. Next we make our way through some cliffs, and here we want to find all 6 of these Buddha stone heads and grab the items from within them. That way we can insert them into this rock, which will then spawn a rock boss, which is pretty easy, and then defeating this boss will give us our next Skanda item. Next we defeat another rock boss, and then after that boss we defeat another rock boss who then becomes an NPC. So we want to buy everything this NPC sells, especially the key item, so we can give it to a pig to sober him up. So then he'll move to another location. So at this next location we need to defeat a boss for him to progress his quest. And this boss looks freaking sick. A tiger wielding a katana is just so cool. And he's got so many cool attacks that hit really hard. After a couple tries he goes down and we unlock the Rock Solid spell, which is basically a parry. As well, for beating him it will unlock this path downward. And at the bottom, this headless dude grants us another spell, which allows us to duplicate ourselves in combat, which I didn't really use at all in my playthrough. Also down here, we see the wolf dog again.
Oh, it's you again.
And now he lets us increase our stats if we have certain materials. An increasing one will give us the trophy Creative Concoction. Next we return to where we beat the tiger and take a different path all the way to another boss. And when we defeat this guy, he's going to drop a key item, the Rattle Drum, where we need to take it to certain areas and eventually will lead us to yet another tiger boss. We take him down and move on back to the pig's quest, in which he needs a gold trinket. We head down into a cave and defeat a giant rat. Doing so gives us the gold item that the pig wants and opens a crack in the wall. Going through this crack we'll find a chest that contains the long scales item, which we'll come back to after finishing the pig's quest. So upon returning to the pig with the gold item, he begins to aggro us and it turns into a boss fight. So we quickly take him down, and then he'll lead us to the secret area and ask for our help to clear these sands. So in this secret area we fight yet another tiger boss who was just testing us. We beat him and reach his master, who's been trying to figure out a way to take out a giant beetle. With his help we were able to get the beetle to come out of the sand, and this boss was actually pretty cool because mid-fight the rat comes to help us fight. It's a really fun fight the bigger the enemies are for me. Once it goes down, we pick up the trophy Shifting Sands and pick up our second vessel. Now that we finished that, there's a couple bosses we need to take care of, and we talk to the old man again to progress his quest. Now that the secret area is done and everything else is pretty much done in that chapter, we can go over the long scales. We need these to access hidden dragon bosses throughout the game, so we backtrack to chapter 1 and travel behind a waterfall, and we fight a big dragon, Red Long. This boss was super easy because he's got like this thing on his back that does crazy damage to himself if you break it. He goes down quick. Beating him will give us crafting materials for weapons later on. Next we return to chapter 2 to find a sand fall. Behind it is another dragon boss.
Old Black Lung Morgan.
Shut up.
And this dragon was even easier because he does like an attack that ripples the floor, but you can literally just stand on a rock and avoid all damage. Beating him will also give us crafting stuff that we can use later. And now that everything is pretty much done up until this point in the game, we can tackle the main boss of chapter 2, which is the Yellow Wind Sage. This boss is pretty sick. I like the wind abilities and his attacks are easily read, making it easy and fun to dodge them. Later in the fight you can start using the wind powers he has, but since we went through the secret area and got the vessel, it completely stops him from using his powers for a short duration. All in all though, it was pretty easy to defeat him. I feel like the vessels are a bit of a cheat code for some of these bosses. But anyways, once we defeat him, we will pick up the trophy, A Great Gust, and then this headless dude gets his head back and gives us the relic we were looking for. That ends the chapter and we get a disturbing lore animation and another painting, and now it's on to chapter 3. Chapter 3 is a long chapter, probably the longest one. We start in the snow and immediately run into a boss and just barely beat this little monkey. Next we get a cutscene and teleport to this actual toddler who spawns a dragon, which is a boss fight. And this one was annoying because there was only a few opportunities to attack it because it's like up in the air the whole time, but it gets smoked when it's on the ground. Beating this boss causes the ice to break beneath us and then we fall in, and then this monkey from earlier gets the jump on us and sends us into a prison cell. But we can literally just walk out, and there's an NPC in this area who wants us to defeat certain bosses and bring their souls back to him. So we'll beat them and return to him once we've done so. So this prison area is pretty big, and while we're traveling in here we're going to get a debuff and the world will kind of turn red and we'll lose all of our health. And while this is happening, we need to find these lamp enemies and defeat all 9 of them before defeating the main boss of this area to obtain a curio. And a curio is basically an item that gives you like a buff to kind of shape your build. This is similar to something like a talisman from Elden Ring. We're going to need all of these curios for a trophy, and this one is easily missable. Also, while we're traversing this area, we fight a boss that is needed for the dude in the prison cell, which looks pretty sick. It's a pretty cool fight. We take it out to obtain the soul for the prison guy and continue moving through this area. And this area was an absolute nightmare to traverse.
Dude, fuck that stupid ass thing.
Moving on to the main boss of this area, it's like a giant bell, and this is another boss we need to take out for the prisoner dude. So we'll defeat it to grab his soul and move to a giant open area where we'll slay a couple of the worst enemies in the game and cross paths with the old man again, getting attacked by the same monkey from earlier. So we take him out again. Beating this monkey for the second time now, the old man will give us a new spell, Ring of Fire, which gives you health recovery and stamina recovery, but I didn't really use it until much later in the game because it replaces Immobilize, so I didn't think it was worth it. But next up, we slide down a hill and eavesdrop on a conversation between someone in this gold thing and a servant of the toddler from earlier. She's trying to get this guy to join her for some reason, but this guy is just not having it.
Join me inside. I've been beyond practice with you.
He awakens this turtle that we're on, and shortly after that she notices us and we fight her. Of course she's a boss, and a pretty cool one too. She transforms into a dragon and does some like heavy lightning attacks, and the screen will kind of flicker and stuff. But we beat her, and this guy finally comes out of this gold thing. And he's going to be sticking with us for the remainder of the game. Before we leave this turtle island, there is another boss here, and it's another long dragon, and this one was super hard due to the amount of damage he does, and I could not dodge this one stupid move that would just one-shot me. Eventually we take him down and earn some more crafting materials. Now we can leave this turtle island and immediately we defeat another long dragon, but this one is part of a much bigger quest in which he wants us to find him a medicine dog. So we return to the wolf guy and talk to him, then return back to the dragon and he gives us a scroll that we can go inside of. This area is like a hub for all of the NPCs that are going to be helping us, like the monkey and dog, and a tiger who can help upgrade our armor. We can also challenge this guy, and we do it way before we are supposed to, it seems, because this guy was tanky and hit super hard. No! No, I had him! No! Feeding him is going to give us his transformation spell. Also in here we can grow seeds from the plants we've harvested, and for harvesting them we get a trophy, Happy Harvest. Now we return to the snow where we defeat a bat boss, which was just super easy. And then we move down the main path to meet another toddler who's kind of guiding us to the relic. Now a little bit later we come across this boss. We beat him pretty easily and then he vanishes. And right after that fight we come across the monkey again and our next Skanda item. Then we come across the same boss we just demolished and then demolish him again. And now we enter this wide open section and we have a couple things to do here. First we take out a couple bosses. And next we talk to this fox spirit who wants us to find their old master so it can get revenge. It gives us its form to use, which is pretty cool, but a shame it's only tied to this quest. We're gonna put that quest on pause for now, and next we find a man in the snow looking for a treasure. We'll help him out and find our way into a cave where he betrays us. So we kill him, and watermelon starts growing somehow. This baby then gives us a spell that restricts all other spells and transformations, basically enhancing your attack instead of using spells, which I don't think is worth it at all. I didn't even touch this spell. Now we're forging down the main path and find the last boss needed for the dude in the prison cell. We take it out and we can return to him for a weapon, but unfortunately it's mediocre compared to what I was using at the time. Now we can continue past that boss into a giant temple. In here we defeat a boss version of the most annoying enemy in the game, and gain its transformation spell. We greet the horse again, and find the master of the fox, which is a boss, and we absolutely destroy this guy. Then we return to the fox who thanks us and gives us a curio. Then we return to the temple and make our way to yet another boss. And now we can tackle the main boss, the toddler. So we just start beating this baby into a pulp. No, so he transforms into a giant big fat man, and we fight him in this form. Couple phases to this fight. First one was pretty easy, and he sucks us in his bag, and we fight the monkey again. No. And smoke him for the third and final time. Then we become him, I guess, which is pretty weird. But after that we fight the big boy again, and this is the last time that we do. This fight was rather challenging, mainly because of the damage of some of the attacks he does, and sometimes he'd go into full gold so you couldn't even hit him unless it was like a big charged heavy attack. It took a couple of tries to beat him, but once we do we get the trophy Nifty Nonsense and return to the temple on the frozen lake where the kid gives us the Wukong relic, concluding the chapter. We get another disturbing, like really gross lore cutscene and a painting. Also, I want to mention real quick that the chapter 3 secret area is not available until after we complete chapter 5 secret area, so we'll come back to that when we do. But for now, it's on to chapter 4. In chapter 4, we start in this little spider village, and right away we fight this spider lady, and after we beat her, she captures Baijie because her mom wants him for some reason. So we're gonna head into the depths below to search for him and the relic, and come across a boss. Now this boss is extremely important for a trophy later. So this guy has like 8 arms on his back, and we need to break all 8 of them for a secret armor piece. And to do that, we just need to hit him from the back several times to break all of them off. We do this 4 times, and after we beat him, we'll get the arm guards. Now in the caverns here, we fight several more bosses. We find the horse friend again, and eventually we'll reach the last long boss. And let me tell you, this boss was so brutal.
Are you kidding me, dude? Come on, baby, come on. Oh, come on. Come on. Yeah!
Beating all of these long bosses will give us the trophy, the Sire and Sons, and the spell to transform into this guy. Catching up with Baijie, we see he's kept by several spider girls, and upon reaching him, we see he's corrupted and we have to unfortunately fight him. We cook him into bacon in the first fight, forcing him to retreat inside this outside area mud bath thing where he turns into a giant boar. Eventually we're just gonna beat him, and beating him will free him from the corruption, but he's taken away anyway. Chasing after Baijie, we come across this monkey again, and we obtain our last Skanda item until chapter 6. And finally, catching up to Baijie, we will confront the mother spider, and this boss was kind of similar to the first spider lady that we fought. After demolishing her, she retreats, leaving Baijie and us to run from thousands of disgusting spiders. We barely make it out of there and arrive at the Yellow Flower Temple, tracking the old lady. Here we take out a few bosses, chat with the old dude, and make our way to the secret area. And to get to this one, we just have to have defeated the boss from earlier with all the arms on his back. Then he will reappear here. We just have to beat him again. It's really not that secret. Once he dies, he opens up a portal to the secret area where we defeat a scorpion boss and complete a quest where this dude pretends to be all friendly and asks for an item so he can cure his friends. But when we give it to him, he just eats it and gets a whole bunch of power. So we're just gonna go ahead and take his life, and in return, we get a transformation spell from him. Next, we're gonna take out the main boss of this area, and I think this is one of my favorite bosses in the game. I really like the way it looks. It just looks so freaking cool. Its attacks are fun to dodge, and it's got a sick phase transition, man. It's definitely one of the coolest bosses in the game. Upon defeating it, we're gonna get the trophy, the Cockworld Crowed, and then some snake lady's gonna come out who will give us our third vessel, which is gonna be really useful against the chapter 4 final boss. Now that the secret area is complete, we can go over these little talismans. So throughout chapter 4, there are some pillars with purple talismans. There are only 4 of these. I don't know what happens when you remove them, but eventually, removing the last one, a boss will appear, and we try defeating it, but this bird comes in to call it away. It's important to do this for a celestial pill and a journal entry that will each help their trophies respectively. Now we can fight the last boss of chapter 4, which is this old dude. This guy rips the relic out of the old spider to consume it and gain power to turn into like a spider lobster thing. This causes all of these spider chicks to attack the dude. Now this fight was pretty easy. It only took a few tries, and since we had the vessel, his last little phase transition did nothing except give us a free win. After we defeat him, we get the trophy Behold the Betrayal and the relic, including the chapter giving us another animation, which I think was probably my favorite one, and a painting. And now it's on to chapter 5. Chapter 5 is in these flaming mountains. Right away we fight a bull boss who turns ally and asks us to defeat 5 war carts, which is how we get to the secret area. Most of these are on the main path, just one is going to be hidden away. We get right to blasting one of these carts, and later in chapter 4 we fight a stone boss, beat it, and move right onto another cart, trash it, and move to yet another boss who've got a fox captured. It's these stupid freaking heads. We beat them and rescue the fox who kind of guides us to the relic this chapter. On our way there, we defeat a few bosses, and we'll reach the old man again. And to complete his quest finally, we need to have maxed our gourd to the max level, which is 9, and then bring it to him, and he will give us the upgrade to get it to 10, giving us the trophy Always Accompanied. Now we're going to continue down the main path and fight a pretty unique boss. In our next cart, we defeat this one, and we find another cart in a lava lake. And this one is somehow the horse NPC. Like, I don't know what happened to him. His soul was like in it or something. But this is where his quest ends, and we get the trophy Urge Unfulfilled and his transformation spell.
Has lingered for you for too long. It's yours now. My journey of life. A fleeting dream. I won't die here with my task undone. This joy, it's new to me. I hope I'm following in my king's steps. My friend, why don't you stay here and tread this path with me?
We continue further up the mountain, defeat a mushroom boss, outmaneuver a death ball. Then Bajay thankfully takes it off the cliff for us, and now we can head down the secret path, cleaning up 2 bosses and finding the last card. We beat the crap out of it, unlock the secret area, allowing us to beat a frog, and unlock the last meditation point, giving us the trophy Scenic Seeker. After that, we take out another boss, the ball. But it's just a pair of twins inside. We beat them, and at the end of this section, we fight the main boss of this area, which is some giant beast. This fight was a little chaotic and framey. I thought my PS5 was gonna blow up. Beating him gives us the trophy Frost and Ice. Now we can tackle the last boss of chapter 5, which is the fox girl who's been helping us. It's a pretty big twist, as it turns out to be actually a demon boy. His first phase, he goes down insanely easy, like that. While the boy's out cold, the bull tries to give us the relic, but he's like pretending and just swoops in to grab it and consume it for power. And now this fight was way harder. There was just this one stupid move where he swings his arms around, and it was just so delayed, it got me every time he did it. But this boss was really sick. It was definitely one of the cooler ones. He just looked so awesome. After beating him, we'll get the trophy Flaming Fury, and this will conclude chapter 5, so we pick up the relic and our 4th vessel here, giving us the trophy Treasure Trove, and we get a cutscene and a painting, then move on to chapter 6. Chapter 6 is really short. We arrive at another mountain, the one from the beginning of the game where Wukong was killed. Immediately in the chapter, we defeat this stupid handhead boss. It's an epic boss, a lot of cool effects and a lot of cool attacks that he does, but he just looks so stupid to me. We beat it and retrieve a cloud that we can ride. And with this cloud, we can travel into this gigantic open section with several bosses. We start with a few side bosses. We defeat a dragon, a hippo. Once we take them down, we fight a couple of stone bosses and find another frog, and finally kill the last frog for a trophy. I don't know why there's a trophy, maybe it's got something to do with the lore. But we pick up the trophy, the Clamor of Frogs. And now it is time to use all of the Skanda items we've obtained throughout the game and activate the secret boss for having them all. This boss is huge, epic, but unfortunately it's really easy. You just wait for him to attack and then you can attack his hands. Really basic, kind of like a mechanic, but beating him will give us the last Skanda item, which we take to the wolf guy, and he converts it into stats for us, which gives us the trophy Medicine Meal. Now we're going to go through the main story and destroy 4 bosses. One of them is the Gold Rhino, who goes down insanely easy. Now beating each of these 4 endgame bosses is going to give us a piece of Wukong's armor. So next we're going to take out a giant cricket, and this one is mechanic based instead of like an actual fight. You just need to have enough stamina to get it to stop jumping, and then you can burn the antennas off its head. You need to have enough HP or burn resistance to survive it, or you can literally just pop the vessel from chapter 1 and take 0 damage. Beating it will give us the headpiece, of course. I mean, who would have guessed? Next we're going to take out a bird-deer hybrid thing. This boss has 2 phases, and I think was my favorite of the 4. First phase is ice. It's really cool with like these whirlwind attacks. And then the second phase, it turns into like a blood demon or something. It has like projectiles and ground slamming shit. But beating this deer is going to give us the leg guards. And the last one is just like super random to me. It's like a little mantis on the ground that jumps inside of Bajay's nose. So then Bajay's like sends us into his body so we can kill him. And that's exactly what we do, and pick up the arm guards. Now with all of these armor pieces acquired, we can enter a cave in which we pick up Wukong's weapon. And now that we have all of Wukong's gear, we get the trophy Guardian of Gear. And now we can head to the final boss of the game, but before we do that, we have one more area to access, and we pick up a few collection trophies. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, some items drop randomly. First, we need to collect all of these seeds in the game, so I spent hours picking up certain plants to obtain these stupid seeds, and all of these plants take 20 minutes of real time to grow or respawn, whatever. So it's freaking ridiculous that this is required for a trophy. The seeds should just be a guaranteed drop late game or something. But anyways, picking all of them up will give us the trophy Seeds to Sow. Next, we're going to obtain all of the curios in the game. these were a nightmare. There's like 8 of these that are random drops, and I mean ridiculous drop rates. Getting all of these took like 6 hours farming the same enemies over and over again. It was so brutal. But getting all of them gives us the trophy Curious Collection. Now that we got those out of the way, we can head to the Chapter 3 secret area, which is now unlocked after beating Chapter 5 secret area. So we go there only to find the dude from the beginning and the hardest boss in the game. This guy was no joke. Insane damage, uninterruptible attacks, spell counters, this guy had it all. Even transformation counters, and dodged heavy attacks. What? This guy was an absolute menace and took a long time to beat, but he was definitely the most satisfying and fun boss in the game. As soon as we beat him though in his first phase, we go into a second phase where we scale to like King Kong and Godzilla levels, and it was so epic this fight. Firstly, we take out these 4 Heavenly Kings. This fight was a guaranteed win, but boy was it so fun beating the crap out of some of what I believe to be the most powerful beings in the game. Shredding through all of them brings us to a fight Erlong for the last time in an epic clash. This fight was so incredible and felt so fucking cool. We finally beat him and we unlock the trophy Meet the Match. We don't kill him, he gives us his weapon, and we learn the Stone Monkey transformation spell, which gives us the trophy Fickle Forms for collecting all of the transformation spells and spirits in the game. Now we make our way to the final relic. We enter the stone Wukong's body was in, or whatever the relic is. I don't really know what this thing is. Inside here, we ride a boat learning about Wukong's past. And at the end of the ride, we encounter Wukong's shell, and this is the final boss. It's got 4 freaking phases. The first 2 are in this stone monkey form, which really aren't too hard. But then he turns into Wukong, sort of. Like, it's not really him, but it is. The first phase is cool. It's really like fighting yourself, seeing him use his staff the same way, using the same stances and stuff. And the last phase is where things get really difficult. It takes all of the relics from you and does some really cool moves, like climbing his staff and shooting shit, powering up really big attacks, or things like parrying us, or even freaking drinking from our gourd. Wait, did he just know I was in the gourd? Oh. This was indeed a fun fight. I really enjoyed this one, but finally after beating him, we absorb all of the relics back and claim the title of Wukong, picking up the trophy A Duel of Destiny. We watch a neat little cutscene, which I unfortunately didn't fully understand, and the game ends. So right away we can start New Game Plus and immediately pick up 3 trophies automatically, 6 senses secured for obtaining all 6 relics, Fortress Perfected for completing all journal entries, so like all of the bosses and enemies and fighting all the NPCs and stuff, and Master of Magic for obtaining all of these spells in the game, with the last one being like a revive spell. The next trophy we get is for upgrading an armor piece for the first time, Pound and Perfect. I don't know why I waited so long to upgrade some armor. But anyways, our next trophy is for finding all of the drinks, soaks, and gourds in the game. These are found throughout the chapters. Some of them even dropped randomly from enemies. But one of these can only be purchased from this monkey in New Game Plus, so we buy it claiming them all and the trophy Brewer's Bounty. Next we find all of the crafting recipes for the consumable items and make our way to our wolf friend again, who has the last one we need for purchase only in New Game Plus. We buy it getting the trophy Page Preserver. And now for the last few trophies, we need some rare crafting materials. So there are only 4 of these crafting materials per playthrough, and this armor set needs more than 4. So to craft the full set plus the weapon, we need 8. So we need to go collect them all the way in Chapter 5 secret area. So we head there and defeat all of the bosses, which give us enough to craft the weapon, which now gives us all of the weapons, so we get the trophy staffs and spears. And we can craft the full bull set. So the last trophy is for collecting all of the armor. So we crafted the bull one, of course, and now we need to find the rest off of randomly dropped enemies. We finally find all of them, and the last armor set that we need is in Chapter 6 in some random chest, which gives us the trophy Mantled with Might. and the Platinum Trophy, Final Fulfillment. So that was Black Myth Wukong. It was an outstanding game. It was such a good experience. The gameplay was satisfying and fun. There were so many unique bosses and enemies, really well done animated cutscenes and actual cutscenes. The story was a bit hard to understand, but that's because I didn't know anything about the Chinese mythology or Wukong until I played this game. As for the Platinum, I'm sorry, I gotta give this a 4. The random drops were just so terrible and unsatisfying and boring. I'd rather fight an insanely difficult boss than pick up stupid plants for hours, and requiring a second playthrough is always a negative to me. I would recommend the game. I'm glad I had the Platinum, but boy was it a rough time. Anyways, thank you so much for clicking the video, and if you made it this far, I hope to see you again. Peace.